everyone, and welcome back to the Adventures in Collecting YouTube channel, where we take a closer look at the toys we talk about on the show. And today we are taking a look at Cyborg from the Snyder Cut, from the Justice League 2021 Snyder Cut, the internet darling, the thing that took Twitter by storm, the hashtag that made a movie a reality. So this is the first figure that I have from the Snyder Cut wave. As you can see, Cyborg, his wave mates here are on the back, so we have Batman, Aquaman, Flash, and Superman. And along with this version of Cyborg, where you can see Ray Fisher's likeness here, there is an exclusive helmeted version. And then, just like the other characters in the back, there are some additional exclusive ones. So Batman, he actually has two different ones. He has a Platinum Edition Goggles Up version. He has a Entertainment Earth unmasked Bruce Wayne version, and then Superman, he's got a variant where he is, instead of in the black suit, he is in the classic blue and red from the Snyderverse. And then there are two villains. There are Steppenwolf and Darkseid, and two versions of Darkseid. So an armored version for San Diego Comic-Con release, and then a non-armored version. So today, like I said, we're looking at Cyborg though. So let's take a quick tour of the box, and there is a fun little Easter egg on the box here. So as you can see, it says Cyborg DC Multiverse. We have the Justice League Snyder Cut. As you saw on the back, we have the really nice art of Ray Fisher there, along with the wave mates. Then on the side, it says Cyborg. So a little bit of a packaging spelling error, reminiscent of many before it. Mistakes happen. It's always nice to have a nice little laugh about it. But of course, we're gonna open this guy up and take a closer look at him. So let's do that. Let's put Cyborg here into the light box, and let's take a closer look at the McFarlane Toys Cyborg.
I'm not broken.
Alright, so here we have the Snyderverse Cyborg out of the package. And before we get into the actual figure himself, let's take a look at its accessories real quick. So, like all McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, we do get his trading card here. Great little still from the film, you know, Cyborg Justice League, and then on the back we do have his description, which is awesome. And again, you know, real name, Victor Stone, of course, and it is his description from the Snyder Cut film. Also, like every McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figure, we get the nice little stand. As you can see, there's the engraved DC symbol there. And then his only accessory that he interacts with is his blaster attachment on his arm. And when we get to articulation, I'll show you how this works. So, really great paint and detail on the effect here. It's got some nice blue paint, in the actual blast effect here itself, the little cannon part. Again, really great molding, really nice black wash over all of it, so that way you can see all the individual details and everything. So let's get into actually Cyborg himself. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the likeness and the sculpt, because I personally think this is the best human likeness that McFarlane Toys has done thus far. I think this looks exactly like Ray Fisher. I think they did a great job of capturing the essence of the actor here at a $20 price point. Point blank, I think they did a fantastic job. It is no question who it is, who it's supposed to look like. The sculpting throughout the figure is absolutely gorgeous. All of the individual details of kind of this early, first gen Cyborg body that he has, all of the different ripples and gears and wires and, all of that kind of mother box looking technology. Really, really well sculpted throughout. And the more you look at it, the more you'll actually see. The paint, while it's extremely simple, is really effective. It's just a series of grays and silvers with a black wash throughout. There are a couple of hits of color. His eye, of course, is red. He's got the little blue light dot on his forehead. The one thing that I will say miss-wise, paint-wise on this figure is the chest piece. So I don't know how it's really coming across here in on the camera, but this should be kind of a vibrant light that does reflect off of some of the metal. Unfortunately, the way that the paint is applied here, it does just look like a smear or a blood stain, really, which is not accurate to the film. It is not a blood stain. It is supposed to be a light. Given the way that the figure is sculpted and how the articulation works, I'm not sure how they would have gotten that, with a piece, maybe a piece of translucent plastic, something more effective than just kind of this red wash. And it's not even that bright, so it really does look, like I said, more like a blood stain than anything else, which is unfortunate. I'd almost have had them rather, paint the whole thing silver and not even worry about the red. But otherwise, the paint throughout the figure is superb. It is absolutely spectacular. Before we get into the actual articulation of this figure and some of the other details, I'm going to show you how the swappable piece works. So his arm detaches here from the forearm. It only works on the one arm. The other arm is permanently affixed, and it just pegs right on there and looks great. It's a nice blast effect. That kind of shows the transformation and everything. Absolutely no complaints there. Really great effect, really great profile. Definitely captures the essence of that. So let's get into some of the articulation here. So first and foremost, the head. He can look up significantly high, and he can look down pretty low. I mean, nothing really to complain there. We do get the side to side, and all the way around, should you wish to. Moving into the arms, we do have the kind of McFarlane butterfly joints. So you do see that butterfly hinge in there, which means that the shoulders can go back extremely far. He does have these molded on rubber shoulder pieces that tend to kind of want to fly away, but they're not cumbersome. They don't prevent you from articulating the figure in any way, which is really nice. We do have that bicep swivel. We have a single jointed elbow that stops at 90 degrees on the one side. On the other side, goes just a hair past it. Again, the way that this figure is designed, the limbs kind of look like machinery, so they kind of also bend like it. We do have a double torso articulation, so we have an upper and a lower. The upper piece you can get some twists from, a little bit back and a little bit forward. Nothing crazy there, but combined with the lower one, you can pretty much bend him all the way forward, and you can arch him pretty much all the way back. One of the other things that is kind of nitpicky about this figure is, for the lack of a better term, I've heard people call it, I can't think of a better way to refer to it, but it is the McFarland Diaper. And this one is loose. So depending on where you have it situated, it can look pretty awkward. Now, if you look at the back of it, it's kind of hard to tell on the camera here, but there's a little, oh, there you go. You can actually pull it down far enough to see it. There's a little ridge here, following his spine back, and conversely, there is a pocket on the inside of like the back of the diaper here, the butt of the diaper. If you insert that into the sleeve, it does stay, and that's where it definitely looks best. It keeps it nice and centered. If you are playing with this toy, if this is, a kid picking this up, it's going to be you're going to be constantly adjusting this diaper, to stop it from revealing the guts on the inside. I wish there was a way that they could have, attached this or made it tighter, or, even glued it in place would have been a good option. Moving down into the hips, though, we do get a really, really high kick there out of Cyborg. In fact, you can even get him to pretty much 180 degrees, Splitsville. Even without an upper thigh swivel, there's kind of sort of a hint of one at the hip. It's really strange. The articulation on this is really strange, because you'd think they could have hidden one in here, but they didn't. It is at the hip. And there is a little bit of a rotation, you can see, that you can get that foot like that. But the way that the articulation is designed, he can kick all the way forward and all the way back. No encumberment there. He does have a single jointed knee, so he's going to stop there. A double jointed knee would have been really, really nice on this figure. And then we do have a ratcheted ankle rocker, and he gets a substantial amount of movement out of that. And then we do have pivot. So this is a really unique ankle joint for McFarlane figures. It doesn't have that ball joint. It is a standard rocker and swivel. Would love to see them implement stuff like this going forward on some of their other figures. You don't have that ball joint sticking out, which is really nice. And then we do have ratcheted toe articulation as well. So really easy to pose this guy because he does have a substantial amount of articulation, and I love that they chose to go with a more substantial ratcheting system because you really kind of can lock him into some really nice poses once you've hit that right gear on the ratchet. There you go. And you can get him into some fun poses. So let's see how this is the only Snyderverse figure I have. I do have a film Wonder Woman figure, which technically is the Snyderverse one as well because they're not releasing one, they're just using the Wonder Woman 84. So we'll start with that. Let's see how he scales with Wonder Woman. And here we have Wonder Woman standing next to him, and I think that looks fantastic. I'm still not sure what I'm doing with the Snyderverse figures, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if I'm going to pick up more of them. I do have the armored Darkseid coming, so when we do the video for him, you'll be able to see how he stands next to these figures. But the way that I'm kind of looking at it is the line is called DC Multiverse, and I think coming up with a multiverse version of the Justice League is kind of a fun idea. So here's how they look with my favorite Batman that they've done so far, which is the Arkham Knight Batman. Again, I think this looks fantastic. If you are building just kind of like your own Justice League, I think this works. I think there is a kind of method to this, and I think you could have fun with it, especially the characters that have kind of more of a realistic look. So obviously he's designed to go with somebody like the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, not necessarily to go with this version of Batman, but I still think it totally works. So let's see how he looks with more cartoon-based figures, right? Comic-based figures. So first up, here is how he looks with the Rebirth Flash that they recently put out. Again, I think this works well enough. It's a little cartoony, right? Because the Flash definitely does not have a realistic face or even realistic proportions. He is definitely a comic book character version of the Flash. And then of course we have Superman, and while I absolutely adore this Superman figure that McFarlane Toys has made us here, I think he's a little short sometimes, but I think ultimately, again, same thing goes, it's all about the posing, and I think you could get away with having your own kind of mashup, mix-up version of the Justice League. Alright, so there you have it. There's Cyborg. So, overall, this is a tough one. Where do I stand on this figure? There are things about it that I love. There are things about it that I think could have been better. As I mentioned, once we kind of had good light on this, calling back to the blood stain that should have been kind of a light, the loose diaper that's going on here. But I mean, the texture and the detail, like you saw, are unbelievable. I think the likeness to Ray Fisher is really great. I actually would go as far as to say, so far in person from the ones I've seen, I think this is the best actor likeness that McFarlane Toys has done in their DC line with their film figures. I love his accessory. I love how it works. The plug-in, plug-off arm, as you saw, and he can do a lot. But at the same time, I wish he could do a little bit more. And I think this figure, while I think many are going to be perfectly happy with it, I'm going to say I'm happy enough with it. If you really loved the Snyder Cut and you have very strong feelings about the Snyderverse, and you're collecting the 7-inch McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, I don't think you could go wrong with this. Not that you really have any kind of other options that are in this scale, but I think this figure will probably get a bad rap overall. But it's really, I think overall is a super fun figure that has a lot of really redeeming qualities about it, and it's really just a matter of taste at that point. Because at the $20 mark, I think there is a lot going on in this figure that typically you wouldn't find. I mean, talk about no reuse. I mean, this figure is an all-new, from the ground up sculpt. And like I said, nitpicks aside, I think overall this is an accurate representation of the Snyder Cut Cyborg. I think this is a fair likeness to Ray Fisher, and I think overall a fun figure. So yeah, that's where we're gonna land with this. Overall, a fun figure. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button down there so that way you don't miss videos like this where we take a deeper dive into the toys that we love. While you're down there, hit that notification bell so that way you get notifications when we post a new video. While you're liking and subscribing and commenting to things, make sure you follow us here at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter, where we're constantly posting toy news, toy photography, and all the other fun things that are going on within the toy community. Last but not least, where it all started, the podcast. So Adventures in Collecting, you can find us wherever you find podcasts simply by searching for Adventures in Collecting. We are live with a new episode every Monday. And if you would rather just hit the link in the description below, you could do that too, and that will take you to our website where you can find all of the things that I just mentioned. Stay tuned after the fade for some additional photos of Cyborg here and some other DC heroes, and as always, until next time.